Okay, so this is going to be an interesting day. Adam can't see right now, so I'm broadcasting Adam without showing you guys yet. Just doing the one speaker real quick here, and I'm going to unmute them in just a second here. But guys, welcome to another day. This is day 13 in quarantine for me, and as you can see, nothing has really changed. I'm just kidding. How is everyone doing? It's good to see everyone. We've got 7 people on, so it's good to see you guys. Hopefully we'll get some more that'll leak in here over time. I'm sure all of you are being tackled with tons of marketing literature, tons of how do you do remote work and all this other type of stuff. And we wanted to show a little bit from a realistic perspective of the challenges that you face as you go through this. So typically what we do for a lot of our meetings is that we focus on a lot of technology, right? And how to use that technology, and then you can figure out how to incorporate that into your business process. And a lot of people right now on Teams are talking about all these different types of remote work solutions that are out there, right? And because we're all quarantined right now, we need to figure out a way to talk to everyone. So today's session is really going to be around Teams, and it's not just all the, hey, Teams is the most amazing thing on earth. It's all about the stuff that really makes it hard, right? To really understand how do you use it effectively. And so I'm starting off in OBS, and now, magically, what's going to happen here after I unmute Marcus and them is that we are going to go into presentation. That did not work, did it, guys? That just did not work. Presentation, no speakers.
I think it's still you.
Ta-da! We are now in Teams. You can see me down here. I'm little. I want to be quarantined in Florida with a pool. Sabrina, I totally agree. I would absolutely love that right now. So guys, say hello. I want to make sure audio is okay too, guys. In chat, make sure to let us know that everything sounds okay. Adam, Marcus, how are you guys holding up?
I decided to work from home today.
You decided to work from home today?
Yeah. No, we've been working at home. My wife and I are here. For I think early adopters of the quarantining, and I decided today, from pressure from my cohorts here, to pull the Kevin Smith look off today. I think my wife said. So it was the hat with the blazer with like a graphic comic book tee. So feeling in my element, we'll say.
What was it?
Got the collar today.
Yeah, no, I'm usually just coat and t-shirt. I didn't have any fancy t-shirts today, like any branded Star Wars or anything like that, so I apologize. But yeah, the music is still playing. It should be in the background. Is it quiet though? It's usually in the background for a little bit. Yeah, background Marcus.
Oh yeah. People like it. Puppies make everybody happy, so I thought people could maybe use some puppies today.
Yeah, that's a good call.
It's louder than us. Okay, guys, let me figure that out. I'm glad I've got everyone helping. How is that? Is that even better? Come on, chat. Tell me where we're at. Tell me where we're at. That is better. Right. People in chat rule. This is why I love these confabs, because everyone, it's going to be like spammed like crazy now. It's just going to go nuts. Good. All right, cool. So
hey,
perfect.
Chat. Spam 5s if you're having a good time.
Spam 5s? 5s if you're having a good time.
Get 5s in there.
Hey, you. What are you doing? I have a little coffee girl that decided to come in and say, do you want to say hi real quick? Hi, everyone. This is what happens when you work from home, right? That's Marcus and that's Adam, and then everyone that's in chat is over there. Is that cool? All right, I gotta go. I love you. Have a good time. So guys, nothing's really changed, as you can see. It's kind of the same old, right? So it's been interesting. So all right, let's go through Teams. So obviously interruptions occur. If you've seen the newscast before of that guy with his wife and the kid that comes rolling in, that obviously it's something to expect, right? And so one thing to note is that what we've been doing in a lot of our meetings is just having a conversation with people to really help them understand that some people have families. Some people have other, I would call them distractions in some ways too, that occur as part of being at home. And generally what we've been doing in a lot of our meetings is really setting it up and saying, hey, my kids are home. I'm sorry if you hear them in the background. And almost every single person has been very understanding. In fact, every single person has been very understanding. So I think that that's one thing, just as general feedback on what we're going to show today, is just to, yeah, she is a sweetheart. I know, but just to set that expectation as you're going through and doing that. So today what we want to do is we want to show Teams and how we use it. You can see here that I have this up on my main monitor, and basically there are a couple of different things that we do with Teams as an organization, and there are some drawbacks to Teams, and there's also some really positive effects of Teams as well. And this is typical, like when Marcus and I and Adam are doing a lot of our meetings, or if I'm on a meeting with Ron or anyone else in the organization, we're always using Teams to do that. And so Microsoft Teams is a product that I look at it as a great communication, audio, video, chat, kind of communication component, but it's also like Slack, or it's a way for people to be able to take ideas and concepts and upload them then into different Microsoft technologies. It's almost like the glue of the Microsoft technology set right now. And you can see we're going to have, there's a lot of people using Teams right now, and that's why you see video quality issues right now and things of that nature, because Microsoft is trying to keep up with the demand right now for Teams. And so as we go through this, we might have a couple of hiccups, but that's the intent of Confab. Thank you for the follow, Pravul. I probably butchered that, I apologize. But so what we want to do is just go through some of the features here so that you can understand how you can use this to glue the organization together, to communicate effectively, and overall just have a lot of fun as we go through and do this. Marcus and Adam, did you guys have any thoughts that you wanted to add as well?
I think the first thing to point out, though, is the background, Scott, you and I are doing. That's not native Teams functionality. At this point, you can blur your background, but it takes some extra work to do and set up the other background. So yeah, there you go, Scott. So there's other software packages that are required to make this work.
Yeah. So right here, I've got a cam, and then on my cam, I've got a green screen. And on my green screen, if I disable that, this is actually a physical green screen right here that we use to do this, right? And so Marcus and also Adam has it. And when you enable that, then in this software solution, I take it and I broadcast it, and then I have a camera that I start, and then that camera goes over into Teams. So
I should say I am using the native Teams background manager, which is not one.
Can you blur your background right now as well? Does it blur?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
You can see the blur feature that's there.
Yep.
Yeah. The green screens are pretty cool.
One thing I did want to throw out there before diving into the functionality and some of the things, and I did post about this on LinkedIn, is it's not lost on our team that there are a lot of people out of work right now. And a lot of people that we're speaking to, like this audience right here, is privileged enough to be able to work from home, hunker down, but still do what they have to do, and get a monthly check. So our hearts go out to those people, and those affected by everything going on right now.
I'm thinking that's awesome. Absolutely. It's a privilege, right, to be able to do this, and hopefully we can help you guys out a little bit with this too as we go through this. So first things first, let's kind of go over just the layout. So basically, Teams is an app that you download or install, and you don't have to just download or install it. You can also use the web app. So there's a desktop app, there's a mobile app, and then there's also a web page that you use to access a lot of the Teams functionality that we're looking at. It's part of
Scott,
Office 365. Yep, go ahead,
sorry,
Marcus.
Scott, I'm just going to answer one question that I got. People had asked, why are you so small and Adam and I are so much bigger? You're looking at Scott's monitor. So
Yep.
Scott, as the speaker, is going to be small, and then the other people in his meeting are going to be larger. So that's why there's a difference in those sizes.
Yeah, I'm small. Sorry, guys. It's just little Scott today. So it's gonna be hard to see me. Maybe I'll have to like take this over every now and then, be like, hello, and just keep on going back and forth. All right. Anyways, enough joking around. But yeah, so I'm presenting right now, and you can't see it inside of OBS, but there's a little red ring around my monitor. And basically, what I've done is I've gone through and called Marcus and also Adam to have a conversation with them. So Marcus and Adam, this is unscripted. I'm going to hang up on you guys, and I'm going to add you back in, and I'm going to show some of those features as we go through that. So guys, it's been a pleasure. Talk to you later. We'll talk to you in a little bit. So now I'm solo, and basically I am in a conversation, and you can see we've had some talks about our follow-ups that are here. Got some nice props from Marcus. But what I can do here is I can actually use this then to go ahead and call people. So I'm going to call Marcus, and when I click on the call, we're going to see that it's going to go ahead and connect to Marcus. And Marcus is going to show up, and by default, typically the video isn't being shown. And so what we can do now, and we like video, we like to, it's kind of something internally that we've really pushed heavily, is to have the video capabilities. And so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and turn the camera on, and then you can see in the bottom right here that I've got my camera set up here as part of this. Now you can also add participants as well. So if you wanted to, what I did is I clicked on the add real quick here for the participant list, and I can type in Adam, for example, select him, and then you're going to see that it's actually calling him to ask him to join, and we can see that happening in the background here. And this is like an on-demand way basically to be able to call somebody, bring them all together very quickly, and have that face-to-face conversation with them. And Adam, surprised he's not answering. Marcus, I'm scared now.
I'm here.
Yeah, you're here. Well, we'll keep on pinging them in the background here as we go through this. So obviously that's the intent here, is that we can actually get people we can get people to actually interact then very quickly and easily. And I can add others as well. So if I wanted to add Ron, or I wanted to add anyone else to this conversation, I could do that. Maybe we'll pick on them in a little bit too. Now the other perspective here though is that, you know, right now for it, I've got Marcus on the screen for it. Navigating through this, a couple of things I just want to highlight as we go through this. So obviously I'm going to chat, or I'm using a command up here at the command bar to really drive that. Another option though, and Marcus, can you ping Adam on the background here just to let him know that we tried calling him and he's not answering? But the other aspect here that's going on is that I can do a command.
Oh.
There he is. I can do a command, and Adam, you can go ahead and share your camera again, and you're muted. You can see down here when people join. He's unmuted. Look at that. Perfect. So that's cool. We can add multiple people then. You could also do a meeting, right? So the joys of demos. Yeah, nothing. This is unscripted. This is the beauty of Confab with it. So the other point here, though, is that once you add people, then you can have quite a bit. When we do our company meetings every Friday, I mean, we have 200 plus people that join, and I think I've seen the true count be around 130, 150, because everyone different timing and different events that are going on. But the person that's actively speaking then is then shared typically on the front screen. So there's only 4 that you'll see that will show up on this screen, and then after that, the person that's active, and it'll go in basically in order of who last talked as a display here. And the cool thing about that is that you get to find the people that forget to put it on mute. When you join a meeting, for example, check your little mute here. That's muted from them right now. That's not muted. And if you want to test it, if you mute it and talk, you can see it says your microphone is muted when you do that. So just something to note is that everyone can tell when you're not muted.
And two points on that. So funny enough, Eric Newell, our CEO, posted in Teams, I think yesterday or the day prior, that Microsoft. I don't know if it was a Microsoft or a third-party add-in, but I want to say it was True Up Microsoft is introducing a like chip crunching mitigation filter. So if you're like munching and you're the one that forgot to peel off a mute, so there's that. And the multiple. So if you go into a Zoom or whatever, you've basically got the lay of the land with all the video from the participants. That is a roadmap item for Teams.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that they're adding things like that, right? I mean, it just makes so much sense to have that capability. Because I love having my
PSA
tips.
The PSA is to check that mute. I did hear a flush about a week and a half ago on a call.
All right. Hey, we've done a webinar. Pants are important, obviously, as part of this. Mr. Newell joined as well. Look at that. We got a follower. Our CEO is following. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. So, of course, right when you did the story, too, that was perfect timing.
He got the shout out, so welcome, Eric.
Yeah, welcome. So let's go through kind of the other aspects here in Teams N2. And like we said, pants are really important. Make sure you have pants on. That was in one of our webinars. That was the highlight for it. So let's go through the interface just at a little bit more of a level 2. So obviously presence information is really important too. And we use this pretty heavily, meaning that when you do a presentation... Yeah, good point. Let's do that real quick first. Let's go through a basic. Let's share my screen. I'm going to click on my share real quick here at the bottom. You can see then I've got all the different applications, windows, or just desktops I can do. And I've got 4 desktops, so I'm going to share just the desktop. During presentations with my 4 monitors, I know that the one I'm looking at is always the one that's being broadcasted live. So just something to note, if you do apps sometimes, if you open up another app with them, it doesn't share it or display it. So if you do a screen though, and you can control that screen, as you can see here, this is all the content then that the audience that you have will see. And right now, what's happening is that a couple of things. First off, there's this little team window that shows up when you do that you can move around and you can put to, for example, I put it over to my far right on my desktop, or you can minimize it as well. The nice thing about this is that when you're navigating, which I'm going to show you in a second, across all the different areas in Teams, this isn't a multi-window environment. It's a single window environment, and for some people, that can be really, really annoying. For me especially, and I'll share why in a little bit. But it's important to have this open to be able to get back to your meeting. Otherwise, you've got to do some interesting things to get back to it. So other aspects then here that we're kind of going through, you can see that my presence information changed as well. It's moved to do not disturb because I am presenting. So the nice thing when you do a presentation mode inside of here is that those statuses will automatically go through an update. And we use this pretty heavily. Like I'll be away, and then as soon as I pop back on, I'll get a message from Ron or Deb or whoever it is being like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I'll just let you know, there's presence lookup that can happen here too, because you can actually watch people to see when they become available or when there's a status change that occurs. And in some of the presentations I've done, you've probably seen that pop up because I'm not set to do not disturb mode. I'm set to busy, and it will actually go through and show that. So a couple other areas just to kind of note here. If I go into the settings, for example, theming. So typically I do a dark theme as part of this. Whether or not you want to open it in the background, whether or not you want different types of notifications to occur. A lot of people like to tailor these because some people like to have notifications and some people do not. And this gets into the teams, into the chat, into mentions, because you can mention people. We won't go through all of that, but just know that you can tell it how much you want it to basically bother you with banners and emails and all that type of stuff. For example, if I miss a call or if I miss a chat discussion, I'll get an email 15 minutes later that highlights all the different ones that were in that notification, basically. So it's
if
really,
you're a regular Teams user, it's worth the time to go through that screen that Scott just showed, because you could be missing things or you're just getting too much junk.
Yep. And let's go through, so now we've gone through just the basics. I mean, right, you can call people, you can chat with people as well. And so in our chat, we've got a bunch of different chats that we have set up. In chats, for example, Marcus, here, here you can see I do GIFs all the time. I'm kind of the GIF guy, I guess is the way I look at it. You can go to Giphy.com, copy GIFs, and then put them into there. Chat with people. Hello, Marcus. Right, and Marcus will get a chat that's separate as well to the meeting. And this is the other thing here too, is you can see now my meeting is no longer here, right? I'm still in the meeting. So if I close this, for example, in the top right here, this actually disconnects me from the entire meeting. And sometimes what you'll see is you'll actually see your meeting window will show up here, and sometimes it doesn't. And that's why this little bad boy right here is so important. Because if that happens, you need to be able to click on it to get back into your meeting with people. So this is, I want to show you a way around this, right? So we'll go through more of the interface, but know as you navigate through here, when you go into a team or any of the other areas, it can be really problematic. Ron calls you pretty boy. Yeah, thanks, Ron. You're really nice right now. Come on. We were on a sales call this morning, and he's all scruffy, and he's got his fedora on, he's got his vest on, and yeah, whatever, Ron. I don't agree.
We've got the 3 levels of blazer, though. I mean, I think I'm at the bottom. I've got a hat on, so I'm the bottom rung for sure, and then it just goes all the way up to probably Marcus.
Dave, we're trying to go through content here. Come on, quit distracting us. So what I do though with this is that I will have this open on one monitor, and then I'll open up. You go teams.microsoft.com, right? And then it'll log you in. And this can be open in another monitor. And this is where we can then go through a lot of the different areas then as well for content. So if I click on my content here, go to Marcus, for example here, same content that's inside the desktop app is also available inside of the actual web app. So if you're going through and trying to see for example, content that you want to tackle inside of a team, which we're going to get to, you don't have to close out of this. You can have this open. And to be honest with you, if you have multiple monitors, it makes sense because you want to see people as you're interacting with them. And if you're in the office, you're able to see them all the time, right? Whether you like it or not in some cases. But inside of Teams, when you're navigating through, you can't see the reaction with it. And that may change how you convey that information. That's why that personal FaceTime is always so important. Other than being able to walk over to their desk and talk to them, you can still have very similar types of events occur within Teams, and you just have to get used to that video. No one's going to be as pretty as they think that they are on video. Everyone's self-conscious about looking at their picture. Oh, sorry, Marcus. You are pretty. There's all these different factors. Don't worry about it. I've seen the gambit now when it comes to people in video, and an example is all the video, all the webcams right now, they're sold out. You can't buy one on Amazon really, really cheaply at this point. You can't go to Best Buy and get it. Micro Center doesn't have any in the area. So people wake up, they get in front of the computer, and then they start broadcasting, which is, it's good and bad. Adam. No, I'm just teasing you. Go. I'm going to keep on going here. So, yeah.
Sorry.
All right.
I was very, very lost on that one. I was affixed on my coffee mug.
Oh, you are. No problem. So let's keep on moving here. So other areas then, just to kind of go through this, if I go into the Teams. Now, Teams, obviously, AV, the look and feel that's related to it, but also then Teams, right? So that's the whole concept behind here. What do Teams do? And so you can see when I went into my Teams area here, if I go ahead and go like Business Central or different areas for Teams here, these are basically groupings of information, and I'll actually go to our pre-sales team. They're basically groupings of information that we can access that allow for us then to interact with all the different Microsoft technologies that are out there.
And this is one of the overarching goals of Teams was to be able to interact with all of these applications in one place. That's correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And like Sabrina asked too, Teams right now is free for a lot of people that you can deploy with Office 365 because it's part of the Office 365 solution. But you don't need Teams to join a meeting, for example. It'll have an app that you can either download and install, very similar to the Link web app that used to be there. But you can then join those conversations. And I think most of our demos, we have people do that. Marcus, I don't know if you have people using Teams, right?
Yeah, yeah. Most of the time, we're demoing in Teams unless a prospect has a specific requirement for something else. Zoom seems to be the other application we're using a lot.
Yeah.
I think the quality of Teams is better than Zoom, although Zoom's very functional.
Yeah, and I'm just moving. So the active speaker, as you can see here, because I have this open, this is them in the background right here, right? But because I'm focused on another screen, the nice thing about this is it actually stays open and we can see who the active speaker is with it. Now, team-wise, like let's go ahead and create a team real quick here. So what we can do is we can create an example team. And I'm going to say I'm going to build a team from scratch. Or you can also use, for example, if you have an Office 365 group, you could actually go through and then add your team from a group that you have, from a distribution group that you have. If I build a team from scratch, I can specify whether it's private, which means it won't show up if I try to search for that team, if it's public so that anyone can join, and then lastly, if it's organizational wide. I've got some superpowers here, so these are available for me. Most people will either have public or just private and public as part of their options. I'm going to create a private team for this, and we're going to say the Confab collaborators. I know that's spelled wrong. This is all about Confab all the time. And I'm going to go ahead and create it. And when we create that team, what we're going to notice is that, number one, it gives me props for creating that team, but I can also then go ahead, I know, it was pretty cool. I can also add Marcus, for example, then I can go ahead and add Adam if I want to, and I can set the different permission levels as well for them, meaning are they an owner so that they have more permissions on how they regulate the channels and everything inside of here, or if they're just members. So I'm just going to go ahead and create that really quickly here, and you can see now that I have my team that's created, and the layout of a team is fairly consistent, at least initially until you start adding additional things. So you've got your posts, files, and wiki that are generally part of this. What I can do then is I can add different types of channels if I want to as well. So an example would be, hey, look at that. I've got one in here. Hey Marcus. Nice to see you part of that. And I can actually then say that's a thumbs up. I can react to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do, for example, I'm going to add a channel. And I'm going to say this is the Business Central channel. And I can specify as well, for example, if it's an invite-only portion of that channel. Now, something to note with this, now, when we set up our client prospects, and I'm not going to expand that because obviously there's sensitive information in there, but when we set up our client and prospects, what we did is we set up sales, and then we had customers, and then we had every single customer as a channel, or every single prospect as a channel. You have a limitation on the number of channels that you can interact with, which is not a good thing because you can only go up to 200 channels if I remember correctly. So one thing to note, if you have multiple customers that you're interacting with, typically what we've seen is that you create a team per customer or prospect that you're interacting with. You can add channels if, for example, in Confab collaborators, maybe we'd have a marketing channel that's part of it. Maybe we'd have then a sales channel that's related to it. And when I add these, what you're going to see is it basically just makes another area where I can do posts, files, and also maintain a wiki as part of it to be able to create additional focused areas. And so you can see on our pre-sales team, we've got that broken out by Power Platform, Supply Chain Management, Finance, Business Central. This is really just our experimental one that we're playing around with to concept a lot of the integration perspectives and also using like planners to do that. Guys, I don't know at this point, do you guys have any comments that you want to add?
One thing that I want to note on the teams and channel management front is we've gone through a couple of times. So internally here at Stoneridge, and on when we're adapting, we're evolving, we're growing. One thing that seemed to it was a topic of conversation as we were growing in different areas was the management of those teams and channels. And just to note, there isn't really any to my knowledge, unless you guys have anything else to show, but there isn't any like advanced sorting. It's kind of the same thing with like views in business systems. You have maybe prepending with numbers or the general nomenclature of each of those channels that are in there. Just be mindful of how you're structuring that. Try to make it scale appropriately from the get-go. Otherwise, you're going to have to go back and rework some things as Teams itself grows as a product. So until we get more of that advanced filtering and sorting of the channels specifically, that additional layer to be able to work with, just be mindful from the get-go as you're starting to structure these things. Easier said than done. I do understand that.
Yeah, really good point. So other concepts here, though. So we've talked about, the team, the creation of the team. We're not going to get into permissions. I want to show you kind of the capabilities in terms of being able to do that communication, right? And so here, Marcus, as we were going through and doing this, was part of the team. He responded to it. You can see reactions that you can say. Well, Marcus was surprised I said, "Hey, Marcus," which is interesting. But that can notify you. It can pop up as, one of those notifications in Windows, for example, that we can go through and do that as well. But the point of the team, obviously, is a couple of things. Now, we use it heavily, for example, to save files, to group information together that I would classify as unstructured data that we really want to maintain. And you can see files are generated as part of the creation of a channel. So when I create that channel, for example, here I have files that I can save. And when I click on that, what we're going to see is that this actually is a SharePoint file repository that's being saved with this. You can also add cloud storage options if you want to as well for it. But the main point here is that when you create that channel, if you want to then be able to go ahead and then save files to it, you actually have a file section that you click on to be able to then go through and then upload files, create new folders. And then also, if you want to use the online Office 365 web apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, or Forms, you can use that here, right? So you can create these different almost just like a distributed file system or a file share, but it's online and in the cloud and then for that particular team. Because it's Yep.
Oh, just to note that OneNote is an addition that was not there a few weeks back.
Yeah, they started adding those now because they were sick of seeing it over here on the far right, and it was you may need multiple OneNotes for a channel is what they're finding as they go through it.
Yep.
And another thing to throw into the mix is, we've kind of talked about the chats. We have highlighted mostly like the team specific, like the posts within that. You can obviously chat and IM across the organization or whoever is a part of that team, and you can drag and drop files and file types into that chat and upload them. And it does can them in a location like Scott was highlighting a second ago. Be mindful though, if it's not team or channel specific and you're doing it in general chats, if you upload a document with the same name, it's going to bark at you and say, "Hey, we found a duplicate." So the chat-based stuff is kind of all categorized in one across your chats. Just a tidbit.
Yeah, absolutely. So other things, though, obviously a wiki post that we can do on that. I mean, it's just, I don't classify it as not important, but we don't use the wiki as much. I can see where this would be beneficial. We have a process catalog that we created in OneNote that may make sense to be in a wiki format as well. I'm sure there's other team members that are probably on our Confab that have used it as well, because the cool thing about this is you can make your own private teams as well. So that way you can have a team just for yourself if you want to tackle that content and basically lay it out as you see fit with it, because like I said, there's not really a limit in terms of the number of teams. They are adding filters, and probably in the future we'll see sorting, but you can have as many teams, and if they're private, they can't be added to it as well without you giving them permissions. You could call it the Scott Frappier team, and everything that you do to manage your workday could be in that team as part of that. Now, this is all great. This is the basics, right, that we're talking about: creation of a team, adding people, whether it's private or public. But then where's that glue concept come from? And this is the cool thing about Teams in my mind, is that it's not just limited then to some basics that you have here. If I click on the plus, for example, for a tab, we can see this is where we're getting a little bit more power now. And so, for example, we can add another document library instead of files and add that to this particular team. We can create an Excel workbook and publish it on Team. We could take a PDF and put that in a tab on Team. We could have a Power App in Team, which we're going to highlight too. We could have, so on and so forth. So there's all these different apps that you can add to a team. And a really common one that we use, for example, is Planner, right? Our Planner boards when we do our level 10s. Yep.
One note on those file types like Excel and Word, just so people know that will open up the file in the channel. It's not going to be a link to the file, so it'll display right away.
Yeah, Rad, that's amazing. So there are 12 million team users in October, and I believe it's approaching 40 million today. So I mean, you can see why, for having that influx as well from a cloud architecture, that's a pretty substantial increase, and we're still able to do streaming. Now, mind you, the quality has degraded slightly. It's still pretty amazing for what it is.
Yep.
So let's go through this from a planner board. So I can add a planner board for this. I can post to the channel tab with it. We can call this our example planner. And we can add it to an existing, or we could use an existing one that we have from other teams that have been created, or in that same team that's been created. And you can see then I can create a planner board. So I can say to do, we can say issues, we could say wins, whatever you want to do. It's very easy then to set up what your planner board's going to do. And from here we can add tasks. Like if we look at our sales level 10, I can say Marcus needs to add a new to-do. I'm going to go ahead and assign this. I'm going to say, Marcus, that's going to be yours, and I'm going to add that task. And basically what happens, because this is integrated in Active Directory, Marcus went ahead and created a new to-do, and so we are all working on this at the same time as well. And if I click on this, I can see the history with it too, seeing that Marcus went ahead and added this. And this is a problem. I don't want us all working on it, so we're going to put that as an issue for now. So... But, this is the power of the planner now. So now, instead of using, there's a lot of different type of planning apps that are out there that I've seen. Trello is an example, and a couple others that allow you to move things between buckets and create different buckets. This is an example of one that we use pretty heavily. Marcus, Adam, I don't know if you guys have anything to add for this. It's pretty self-explanatory.
The one thing I like about Planner is the app availability on the phone, tablet. You can get a Windows app, so you don't need to use Teams to interact with those all the time. I use the phone app for Planner all the time.
Awesome. So other ones that are important then too, so we keep on talking about the integration or the glue, right? So on this channel, I now have a planner that I created. I can also then add, for example, a link into Dynamics 365. So here is an example. If you have customer engagement, if I go ahead and click add to this, for example, I can go ahead and then select in actual. So we're going to go through here, and hopefully I've got my demo environment that I can use. We look at our organizational portion of this. What I should be able to do is I can actually select an entity that's related to this, and then that entity I can go ahead and then change or add. So first off, let's go ahead and change the environment. I'm going to go into, I think, oh, look at that, we've got a Vulcans environment. That's interesting. We must have Vulcans in our organization. I'm going to go ahead and do Dynamics 365, and you can see that depending upon where it is for the integration with it, you can actually choose to use it or not. So there's like a test nav integrations, there's Stoneridge Software, and these are all the different types of environments that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and do my machine learning one that I have, and then I'm going to go ahead and I could select a specific app. So, you want field service data to be displayed in Teams, you could do that. Or if you want want your sales hub or your sales information to be displayed, you could do that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and select the sales hub just as an example here. And then what I could do is I could search for a specific entity. So if I wanted to search for accounts, or if I wanted a specific account or a role that's related to it, you can see that there's just a lot of different options that I have. So maybe I'm always working with a Datum Corporation, or maybe even a list that's related to it, or maybe it's a full account, right, that's there as well. So here's a Datum. I'm going to add them, save them.
This
and
is
we're
an
gonna
important
see.
thing when you
Yeah.
when you think about setting up teams that are client based or something like that, where I've got a pre-filtered app that's now embedded into the team. I don't have to go try to find Dynamics 365 that I lose the link for all the time, and then create filters and all. I can set that within the channel.
Yeah, so you can set this up right now. Now I have a datum inside of Dynamics 365, and if I want to go to the account, I can see that information. If I want to go ahead and load up specific information about them, go to the related information, see the contacts that are related to a datum. I'm in Dynamics 365 in Teams, right? So this is something that I've used heavily when I'm working on, when I have my client and prospect, I will link our CRM one with it so it's actually visible there, so I can then have their account information for it and be able to access that information very quickly and easily. And so it doesn't just stop there. You can add, like I said, field service. You can add lists if you want to inside of here. You can add, there's actually a button inside of Dynamics 365 CE as well that allows you to integrate with Teams. I don't think it's assigned on here, but you can then inside of Teams click on an action then to link that then to a tab that actually exists then inside of Teams from within Dynamics CE, excuse me. So there's a lot of options that you have then for interconnectedness. You can also add, for example, other areas too, and I just want to highlight, for example, if you wanted to add another document library or a Power App. And so this is the big one, right? That maybe you have an application that you want those end users in that team to interact with. So let's go ahead and let's go to Power Apps, powerapps.com, and let's sign in. And let's quickly create an app and then see if we can expose that for this. So I can go ahead and I can say I want to create an app from blank at this point is what we're going to do. We're going to do Confab test is what we'll call it. We're going to go ahead and create it for tablet. It's going to be a blank one that we have. Oh, one thing I didn't check. I'm in the wrong environment. So let me move that environment to be SRF. AIML, there we go. Close this, leave it, create a new app from blank, tablet, confab test, create. And so you guys know Marcus and Adam are able to see everything that I'm doing because I'm sharing my screen as we go through this, as we go through the presentation. So we can create this app, we can get things ready, we can add, for example, if we wanted to, remember on this account I think that we added the AI capabilities as well, right? So if I wanted to insert an AI builder for the object detector, I think we have it in this one. Might not. If not, I'm not going to worry about it. Point is that I can actually go through, no, I don't have it. I can actually go through and then add just different things if I want to with it. So we'll do a text input, and then we'll add a label, and we're going to say my app. We're going to save it. Confab test, save it away. So now if I want to, hopefully, and I've got my simplified work orders as another example that we can share as well. I now have that app that I've saved inside of here. Now in Teams, what I can do is I can go back into here and I can say, you know what, I want to add a Power App because I want to record information about X, Y, Z, whatever it is. And so here we have Confab test that just showed up, so I'm going to go ahead and add that one. We'll save that away, and we should now see that application show up. And this is a super basic example, right, that has that. Now, what I can also do, though, is I could add another Power App if I wanted to. And so if we want to use one that's a little bit more complex inside of here, as we search for the app to add it, we're going to see that I should be able then to add some of the other apps that were inside of there. So I'm going to wait just a second here. Sometimes it's a little bit slow.
This is amazing to me because I'm able to leverage this app across really all sorts of different applications. So if I'm in finance and supply chain management, if I'm in sales, if I'm in on my phone and I want to pull up the Power app, if I'm in Teams, it's the same application that's running behind the scenes.
That wasn't Scott, that was Sabrina. That was interesting. All right, go ahead and add Scott as an admin. Get started here. Welcome to the team. There's my team. This is awesome. Get started. So here, I've got my first day checklist for my onboarding now that I have available inside of Teams, which is an app I created. So the nice thing about Power Apps is that you can create these and they're going to exist in Teams. They're going to exist, like Marcus said, separately as an application that you can open up on your tablet or your phone. And they also exist inside of Dynamics 365, right? So Teams really allows you to link this together. So instead of actually using Dynamics 365 and logging into it, you can just create it as a tab inside of here and then interact with the data that you need to for your team to be effective. And that could be lists of information, that could be apps, and it could also be a lot of these different third-party solutions. And as you can see as I scroll down here, there are a ton of third-party solutions that allow you to integrate with it. And then we've talked about Power Platform, we've talked about Power Automate. Having events that occur off of this, you can do that as well. So it's a really powerful capability from a team perspective that obviously it's a blank canvas to start for you, but you really need to think about how you structure it, because you can set these up as templates and there are tools that will help you really deploy those templates as part of that. Now, Adam, I want to give you some time too, because there's also, we're talking about the basics of setup here. We also have like AI ML. Like, what would a confab be without talking about artificial intelligence, right? I mean, we've hit it almost every single time, right? But you've got some really cool things to show for the audience today, don't you?
Yeah, and we're gonna probably blow through it pretty quickly. So I will just, as an expectation setting measure here, questions, comments, issues, let us know, engage, and we can walk through it in greater detail. But for the past, I'll say, month, I've been living in bots. So where Scott was bringing us through some of the basics, the setups, and then extending that into the Power Platform and some of the more involved pieces of, embedding and working with Power Apps, Power BI, Power Automate. Those are, there are direct features there, embedding a record or anchoring a record to a channel or a team, having those front and center, being able to display a Power App and jump into it across these different teams and channels. That's awesome. That's a little bit more static. What we're going to take a look at is extending it to more of that dynamic and that kind of the bot land. And wanted to throw a couple of examples up. First, we'll take a look at the apps in general and some of the bots that are out there. I do want to step through D365, the native bot that's in there. There is the accessing records and having your dashboard and anchoring those pieces, but there's also some quick bot actions that we can use within chat. And then outside of that, we'll take a look at some of the third-party options that are out there in the ecosystem. And then I do want to hit on Power Virtual Agents today as well. So within the Power Platform, we hit on the main three already, the newest addition to that family being PVA or Power Virtual Agents, to build your own bots, structure those in a really, no code intuitive UI. So we'll show that a little bit. We don't have the full demonstration here today. I ran into some side loading issues in Teams, but we'll go through some of the more advanced features. So I will share my desktop and let me know if you can see that, Scott.
And Bill, you are absolutely right. It would be artificial ignorance if we did not talk about artificial intelligence. Love it. I'm stealing that. Yeah, I can see it. It looks good.
We're good.
Got my mug on there. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I heard that minimizing things might get us, get us in trouble. So I don't want to. But I
yeah,
actually
exactly.
will. I'll tuck you away. So here I am, and so this is a different Teams insta. This is a different tenant. This is a demo tenant that I have. So I've got we got a sales team, marketing, customer service, just some pretty bare bones teams and channels that are structured in here. So and I don't have Dynamics 365 injected in here just yet. And Scott did walk us through the first legs of that. So where he went into a specific channel, he went into, under whatever team he was living in. I think it was the pre-sales one that he whipped up.
Yep.
Popped into a channel and then actually anchored a D365 record right into the tabs. The other way you can do that, the other inroad of the 2 or 3, is if you go to the bottom left here and you go to the apps. Now this is all privilege based, so if you don't have any access or privilege to be able to actually go in and work with and plug in any of these apps, you'll need to talk to your administrator to do so. But we've got a number of categories on the left hand side, different slicing and dicing options for different kinds of apps and different categories. You can even at the very bottom upload a custom app if you've downloaded that and rip that down to a zip file. So I'm going to go and search for Dynamics 365, and there it is. I'll click on that and we're going to get the same experience. So I'm not going to go through each of these screens. Scott already did that, but hey, look, it's already kind of there. So with the Dynamics 365, the app itself, you can pin that on the left-hand side. So if I go to my teams, if I go back to my apps here, we should have that option to be able to anchor that on the main sitemap too, within teams. But let's go back to it.
That's a new feature too. So if people have tried to do that, yeah, in previous versions, that's within maybe the last 6 weeks that's become available.
Something went wrong. Hey, we're in full demo mode.
Might be on the 3 dots that you pin it on the far right there.
I'm just gonna hard refresh here. Let's see what we got. Thank you. That's what I was looking. There you go. Clear your cache. That's another thing.
Yeah.
But if you go into the D365 area specifically, you'll see that now we're cooking. We have that we have the icon and we can pin that. So now that that's pinned, if I navigate to Teams or my calendar or anything else, we'll have that available. So instead of anchoring this to a specific channel or team, we now have a D365 area, and there are some options here. So we've got a chat. That's the bot feature. We'll talk about that in a second. We've got my dashboard, and this is gonna pop up your default dashboard. You can see there's a theme here in accessing some of the data and some of the pieces of D365. It's going to lean on your defaults. So pinned views, pinned dashboards, system defaults per the logged in user. So here's just the social activities, the sales activity social dashboard. Number of elements here, we've all seen it. It's pretty straightforward. There are some settings and about and help further down. The cool thing here is the chat, and we have some options. You can see that I've already gone through a number of prompts. So asking for specific data or lists or what have you. So if I typed in, I want to take a look. I want to see accounts. So if I type that in, it'll, it's typing, it's thinking. So it just spit back a list. So this is a view in D365 Sales of all of the available accounts. So you can see, like I just mentioned, it does lean on your default view. So my default view in that environment that was selected in the setup is my active accounts. So we're going to get a list, and obviously this is, I think I probably have everything under the sun in the system. So we start at A and we go all the way down, but there are some options. You'll get some pre-canned options at the very end of this list. You got show more, so you can expand that list. You can show recent. What's really cool is across these applications, Marcus brought up the ability to use apps, very transitively. So we can actually embed them in other business applications and access these power apps from various entry points. The cool thing about what I think is really, really cool in terms of user experience is the recently viewed concept. And that's something that the channel has been asking for a number of different business applications, but specifically in my world in CRM, now we have that caching, ever since, what was it, 2015 or 16, the ability to cache the records you're viewing. So if I go to show recent, this will actually tailor to the records, that I've been visiting most recently. It's confined to the accounts. I can expand that list. I can open in D365, which will shoot me into a new tab. But you can do this across entities too. So I'm not even typing like natural language, hey, can I see or show me? I'm just going to type in opportunities. and it'll think and it'll spit back
I
some
love
opportunities
how it
based on
says
my
it's typing.
yeah.
It's like there's a person on the other end, but it's a machine.
Yep. So if I click into, this is all sample data again, but if I go into one of these opportunities, so I'm now I'm clicking into a discrete record. It gets us this card. So we have, card information, and we can open that as well. One thing to note is, we also have a mobile experience. So this experience, and I was trying to pull it up a little while ago, but let's see if we can pull this off. And I'll just, because I think the bot really, the quick chat, like, hey, show me opportunities, show me accounts, show me this recently viewed stuff from a Teams perspective, to me anyway, this is a lot more beneficial for the mobile user. I can just go on my desktop and log into Dynamics 365 and see what I need to see. But if I'm on the road, and I can go into my work here, go into Teams, here are a bunch of my chats, and then I think I have the D365 one going on right here. So this is that list that I was just taking a look at. So in terms of the mobile experience, you can see the power in being able to go, where was it here? To go, let's go contacts. And that should have the same experience. We'll have that, it'll be thinking for a second, it'll pull back that list. So you have that ability to see that main list. You have those action calls at the very bottom. You can sideswipe to see the different options. What's really cool is if I go all the way back up to, I think I had accounts up here. Let's go into Fabricam. If you've got your map set up, if you have everything structured, you can click into that address and pop into your native maps. I'm not going to do it right now because I don't have it set up. You can go to the website. So within the card, there's some dynamic data, but you can even look at related records. So from the account down, because that is so important, you can go and see all of the contacts or opportunities. So if I click into show contacts,
And so we're still in Teams, though. I mean, that's the thing I think is just interesting here. You're using Teams for AV, you're using Teams for planning, you're using Teams for file repository, you're using Teams for Dynamics 365, you're using Teams for Power Apps. I mean, everything, like I said, the glue concept is right here.
Yep. Yep. So, I mean, to me, this is really, really cool. So show, or, like I did accounts, activities, we can go leads.
And show leads that happen with it. Yep.
So, just fetch all my leads. And again, it's going to lean on your default, your default view there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, the setup, though, too, I mean, that's the PVA stuff, right? Is this using PVA, or what is this using?
No, this is the native D365 app.
Okay, cool.
So this is the, or not the app, the D365. Yeah, I guess you can call it an app.
Chat. Yep.
For Teams specifically. I think the power in this one is that chat capability. Now, in terms of additional bots and how you can extend and using some of the AI components that are that are just out there in the market, I can go to my apps, and I found one called, I think it's called Soapbox. Yeah, Soapbox. So there are so many that are out here, and there's even a whole category. If you go to apps in the left here and go to bots, you're gonna get a breakdown. The Flowbot's pretty cool, being able to work with an AI driven or a bot driven exchange to trigger flows, which is really nice. They do have a Zoom one, which may be a conflict of interest, but there you go. There's that D365 one that we took a look at. I mean, there are a ton in here that have very pointed functionality, so I encourage everybody to go check them out. We can't endorse any of these. I mean, this is all, I haven't seen all of these. Obviously, we have big names in here, but whatever makes sense for your team. Now, if I go back to one of my teams, I did just pick one that's really straightforward so we can take a look, and it's kind of fun. So if I'm in my sales team and I'll go to, I think it was inside sales. So you can see that there are a number of bot exchanges. There's a post here. The tabs that Scott walked through a little while ago, I have the post files wiki. We're going to get that every time. And then on the right-hand side here, I have the Soapbox. It's an agenda bot. So when I click into that, it'll load up. Now, I did have to authenticate into this. It uses your Office credentials to be able to pop in. But this is an agenda that I've been putting together. So, this is for we'll call it, discovery meeting. 2, something like that. We'll start with intros, first discussion, core focus area, breakout. We can build these agendas, and then distribute these to people, and it actually does sync with your Outlook as well. So it'll sync with your appointments. This is just a really fun example of the different kinds of the bots and the apps that you can plug in and extend your extend the abilities that are in Teams with different native, either native apps or third-party marketplace apps, as well as just be more productive. These things are designed to get your team more productive and collaborative. So, we can build an agenda here, we can end it and send it out, save it. We can see former agendas, meetings in the past.
So that's
Kind of
awesome.
cool stuff.
So Adam, a quick question: what happens if you want to create like a custom bot? I know we don't have it integrated into Teams, but we kind of talked about that a little bit too. I think like a support website, right, type of a thing where you ask for information. What do we have for something like that?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So how do you get rid of this top thing? This thing is really sticking.
Unpin it right there. Yep.
Yeah, oh, come on, there we go.
You got to give it time.
Here I am looking like a noob on the confab. But so Scott gave me an awesome soft pitch there. Power virtual agents. I mentioned toward the top of the session here that that's where I've been living here in the recent past. And I have a new tab open. I'm not going to go through all the auth and getting in there and whatnot, but I've actually been building a support-based bot. So with Power Virtual Agents, which is the fourth leg of the Power Platform right now, you can structure in a very intuitive UI. In fact, I'll show you, inputs and responses. You can build your own bot, and it'll lean on the Microsoft natural language AI to be able to help you out and ingest the information and look at some of the back end, the data it's receiving, the responses it's receiving, the actions. If people are exiting, there's a lot by way of the analytics. But for the ones that the one support focused bot that I've been focused on looks a little like this. I'm not going to go through this. We'll probably do a session just on Power Virtual Agents at some point. But this is the canvas. So I'm dragging this down. So this was all built fresh, and this goes through a bunch of conditions. So what kind of support are you looking for? And then it guides you through different responses and everything. So to see that in action, which is what everybody wants, they actually they bake in a demo website right into your PVA environment or the Maker portal. So if you go to this demo website, you can get a flavor, and you can test this in real time too. If you go back to the main, either the topics or anywhere in here, in the bottom left it says test your bot. So when you're in your specific bot, you can go through and test this out as you go, which is really nice. And even in the authoring canvas, you can see how that's maneuvering through the logical tracks that you've had. So you can see the green check marks as I'm going through. Now in the demo, we'll start out with that. I think I had one in there. You said a bunch of front end trigger phrases. So I need help. And that's going to analyze that and try to figure out what you want to do. So, hey, it sounds like you're looking for support with your system. Good news, I can help. And I, if I want to hit this is all Stoneridge software focused. So if I want to go to the Stoneridge blog, if I want to create or update a case in our portal, if I want to get a quick update on a particular case, speak with a live agent, if you got omni-channel set up for customer service, or provide feedback right there and then, I'm gonna just show the blog stuff. So blog resources, that's what I'm looking for. Are you looking for all blog content or specific blog content, products, specific apps, etc.? So we've got all, and then we've got things parsed out into our main practices at Stoneridge Software. If I went to Power Platform, that's what I want to look for. Great. Click here to see all the Power Platform blogs on the Stoneridge Software website. And if I do that, we'll shoot over. I'm not going to give a full demonstration here. Here's the blog, and it's filtered to the Power Platform all the way down. Really, really cool stuff. So you can see how intuitive it is and easy it is to start building your bot and get it off the ground. There's a lot more to that support-based bot that I just showed if we go down the other tracks, but that's for another time. The beauty of building those bots is that you can inject them into teams. So you can house them within particular teams. And if you go down to apps and you go into the admin area, there's a whole thing to be able to get it off the ground. And I was running into a couple of issues. But to have all of that in-house, to to allow power users, not developers that have been around the block for 15 years. Nothing against developers that have been around the block for 15 years. We still need you. You are vital to everything that we're going to be doing with these business apps and standing them up. But you can see that, you know, the value add of getting this in the hands of power users and being able to go through and build an intuitive AI-driven bot to help with internal support if anybody's looking for collateral or HR assistance or anything that's like more of an internal focus, or external for all of your customers. The one I demonstrated is more of an external play, but there are so many options. There's so much potential with that, and we're just seeing the evolution of this with general availability having only opened up in December of last year. So the future for Power Virtual Agents is ultra bright, and it's a heck of a lot of fun to work with. And I'm getting all geeked out right now.
Yeah,
so
yeah. We'll have to do a whole topic on this.
The name of all of this, in terms of bots and AI assistance and driving value and driving efficiency through machine or through artificial intelligence and some of these components that are getting easier and easier to get in the hands of people who can get this off the ground very quickly. It's just I can't think of a more compelling story in terms of that digital transformation, that next step, and that investment in a platform. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, that's awesome, Adam. Thank you so much. I mean, you really think about it. I mean, from a technical perspective, I mean, we've shown you a lot of the different capabilities that are out there. A lot of this, if you start reframing how you store that data. So PVA, for example, the support cases, you could have that saved to the common data service. It creates a case event potentially then inside of CE. That case event now through dual write is inside of finance or supply chain management. So you've got to really start thinking if you really want to harness the capability. Microsoft's doing it on purpose, obviously, but there's a lot of advantages around that because you can stand up these technologies. You can create a Power App on the fly. You can link Dynamics into Teams. And you can do other things too. So Teams is not just used from, we're showing how we use it and what we're experimenting with on it. But there's also, remember, the other capability, which is students. You can actually set up these PVAs to actually access data to create what are called key pairs, where a question has been asked and then it's been answered. So ask and answer, ask, answer. And there's software out there that you can add to Teams through third parties that allow for you to do machine learning off of that, so that if that question or a similar question is asked, for example, by another student, it'll actually find the answer and display that then for that end user. So you can start using these technologies to make it so that people can find information in a natural way instead of clicking on files, searching the folder, trying to find that folder, looking at the document, finding out that's not the right document. Like, you've got to really start thinking about your data management strategy, which has really been a focus of what we do at Confab lately. So just keep that in mind when you go through this. Every tool has its exceptions and has its capabilities, but overall, I was against Teams initially, personally, just because it was so frustrating to use at the very beginning. They've come a long way since then. That rich integration, that management, and understanding some of the pitfalls and being able to get around them has made it probably my go-to app at this point. I use Teams more than I use anything else in our organization at this point.
Same.
So awesome, guys. Well, we're at time. I wanted to thank everyone for joining. Obviously, all of us at Stoneridge want to wish you well. Stay safe, stay healthy. If you guys have any questions at all on this content or any content in general that we've tackled, feel free to reach out to us. And we're more than happy to help, and we'd love to show some other capabilities that we have. One thing I wanted to say as well, though, really quickly here, Stoneridge Connect was changed. So right now, Stoneridge Connect has transitioned into an online event, and Sabrina had mentioned to me that they are going to start opening registration for that. So content-wise, it'll be web-based like we're doing right now. That'll be a lot of fun. That we'll be able to go through a lot of the content. And then the next topics are posted on the channel. I think Sabrina sent me a list of what that was in chat here. And so if I take Ron sent me a gift too. Thanks, Ron. That was really nice of you. So Sabrina has some. I'll find that in a little bit. But topic-wise, it looks like on 9 we've got portals that we're going to talk. On April 23rd, IoT, and then on May 7th we have manufacturing. So yeah, it should be a lot of fun. So thank you guys for joining. Have a good one, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.